Welcome to the Focal Point Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Riggs. Here I take a deep dive into my personal interests of the hidden craftsmanship, philosophies, and passions behind society's talent. If you're intrigued by artistic nuance, please subscribe and follow on my YouTube channel, Spotify, and Buzzsprout. With that being said, let me introduce you to today's guests. John, I don't know if are you technically part of the screenwriters group, or are you just like a passing visitor at one point for my own
I
personal
guess
screenwriters group?
I would assume I'm technically a part of it, but is there some kind of official? Because I've been on the list for a while. I came, a few months in a row, probably a few years ago, before I had my third kid,
Okay.
and then I probably took 2 years off of writing, and then beginning of last year, I kind of started again, and then when I started finishing some projects up, I'd been getting the emails the whole time, and then I started back maybe in August last year.
Okay, gotcha. So you were before me, and
Yeah,
I've been with the group because there was one other group in Dayton that I just met, and they were nice people, but I happened to meet this current screenwriters group for Cincinnati by happenstance at a Film Cincinnati event. That's a lot of Cincinnati's in one sentence. It's way too many.
yeah,
But since then, I've attended almost every meeting. I've been going for about a year and a half ish. So, but up until that point, until sometime later last year, I hadn't met you yet. So I didn't know because on the list, the email list, there's like 60 people or something like that. But
yeah.
normally it's like the same between 6 to 8 people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
five to
at
six.
best.
Yeah,
And I never seen you before, so I don't know if there's like a specific like official part, but clearly you've been there a little bit longer than I have for in some regard or another.
yeah. I don't know how as active, but when I'm doing it, that means that I'm pretty active in writing. Um, if not, then I'm just probably too busy in regular life. So.
Okay. Well, you tell me a little bit about because we've already established that you're a writer. That's kind of what we met over, and we'll get into that in a second. But uh, outside of that, tell me about more about what you do for a living and how you got started with that. Because I know there's a lot of it's not just writing for you. There's also other creative fields that you're a part of.
Yeah, I would say um, writing is kind of this hobby and passion that has been growing over the years, but it's never been my career or money maker. I've been in marketing and social media for, I guess, I'm probably almost 15 years now. Um, you know, Kind of at the very beginning of social media around like 2008 and 2009.
Oh, right,
Um,
when it was starting to take off.
yeah, when it was really starting to take off. I would say 2004 was when I was in college, and that was when Facebook was out. So I was, I was like literally living kind of in the beginning of Facebook, and when people were just using it to try to find girls, and vice versa.
Back,
And so,
and then it strayed from the path, and now it's no longer what it used to be, and its former
uh,
glory days is behind it.
yeah, now I preferred actually those former glory days compared to what it is now. But so I've always been to the forefront, and so that's always been my career as well. I did social and marketing for the United States Tennis Association. So I grew up playing tennis in North Carolina, and then I moved up to New York after college at UNC. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was staying on a friend's couch and was just kind of hustling, making contacts, and then I got that job at USTA. Worked there for about 3 years. Went around the country, um, you know, pretty often for 9 months out of the year, and then for 1 or 2 months it was just focused only on the U.S. Open. So that was really kind of my first like real job in my career, and which can't really ask for too much better. I guess I had stuff before that, but I knew that I wouldn't be doing that. It was like sales and just like stuff to try to stay above water. But then from there, I kind of just carried on. I moved to LA from New York. I'd always wanted to live in both places. I had a friend at Snapchat, and so I reached out to him when they were hiring, and I got a role there. if you remember the story feature, which most people, it's probably people's favorite thing that Snapchat has had in its past, because now it's just Discover and it's just those brand content feeds. But it used to be
Hmm.
real content for real people. Well, I was one of the people behind a computer. Like say Coachella was going on, we literally get hundreds thousands of snaps that would come in a day, and I would take the best 12 to 15 of them, write captions, work with influencers that were on the ground, sometimes be on the ground myself, and then really help to grow that product. This was like 2014, 15.
So
And
you
so,
were in that role with the Snapchat. You were collaborating with other people that were using the platform to help it grow. And
so,
were you
so,
more front end or back end?
so I would say, I would say, I guess a little bit of both. So I curated the content that came in. So say like if you were at a concert and you were sending it in, I would get that, and then I would decide if that would go into the story that the whole world would see. Um, but
For
like
Snapchat, right?
for Snapchat, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And then, or if I wasn't there behind a computer, then I was the person that was out in the field. I was at Coachella or at an NBA game, or at some event that we were covering, because we did use. I would say 80% of snaps came from real users, but the other 20 to how to actually put the story together. Like we would need transitions, or we were working directly with celebrities. Celebrities really helped grow Snapchat. I don't know if you remember DJ Khaled. He was kind of a huge catalyst, and he actually came in and spoke to our team, like wait when we were on the Venice Boardwalk, which I think they still have
Man,
offices
that's a
there.
lot. That's a big name. That's a pretty
Yeah.
big name. What,
Uh,
who else have you met through that? Did you meet through that?
oh, so it's, a lot of people, but I know just off the top of my head, because everybody's been doing that 2016 trend. So I
Mm-hmm.
went back and I said, what was I doing in 2016? And then I went through and I was at Snapchat. And so just from the pictures that I posted in that year alone, I have a selfie with Novak Djokovic, Michael B. Jordan,
Oh wow.
um, Miles Brown, who was a kid at the time on Blackish. I had met Anthony Anderson because we were at the NAACP awards at the time. Um, see, I mean, I met a lot of athletes. Um, yeah, I mean, really, like if there was an event and celebrities were involved, it was a good chance that if I was at that event, I would be working with that celebrity, or with their representative to say, hey, we need this kind of shot.
So
Uh,
being representative and curating Snapchat's story feeds for that, you were premeditating and working directly behind the scenes in order to make that happen. It wasn't all spontaneous.
Yeah, so it wasn't all spontaneous, because I
Okay.
mean, yeah, we got great content from regular people, but there's like you have to make transitions. Like we were telling real stories, and like with real transitions. Then we started working with brands. How do we tell a story that when we put an ad in, that we're finishing a thought in between those ads, things like that.
Okay.
So it was, yeah. And I think the coolest thing that I always talk about is, right now everybody shoots vertical, but you probably, until I say it right now, you probably didn't realize that or forgot that before Snapchat, everyone shot horizontal. Like, and you just took the phone and you just turned it the other way when someone sent you something. It was always horizontal. And what we did, we trained the world to shoot vertical, because when people would send in
Mm-hmm.
snaps, we never posted horizontal snaps, and we only posted vertical. And then when we started working with ads and brands, we were like, well, your creative team has to make vertical. They had never heard of that before. They had to come up with new processes. They had to come up and create new lenses, because now we're shooting in vertical, which no one had
I
ever
think a really
done.
big thing also that popularized that was Vine. Vine was, I think, the first big one to start making vertical go not just be used practically, but also for virality.
Yeah, but they did allow, and a lot of people did post horizontal, because there was no like
Mm.
punishment for posting horizontal. With Snapchat, you wouldn't be able to get on the story. Like we were even put filters that would say, telling people to post vertical for a better chance to get on the story. So like I said, like then it started going to ads, and then influencers started doing it. And so when influencers that everybody sees them started doing it, everybody does it. And then remember when I was there when
So
I was
really, all of this is your fault.
yes, somewhat. No, but like when I was still at Snapchat when Instagram came out with it, and everybody was like, "Wait, they literally just completely ripped off and stole Snapchat's product with
Oh
stories."
yeah,
and
yeah.
and
What
they
isn't
Zuckerberg
no
came out and
Facebook
spoke.
bought Instagram and Snapchat is
Snapchat's
did
separate.
okay, yeah, it never got acquired. I don't think it got acquired, but
No,
I wasn't
no.
positive.
No. And so yeah, and Zuckerberg even came out. He was like, "Yeah, this is what happens in history. People do things, and then it just gets adopted." And then he didn't really shy away from saying, "Yeah, we were doing the same exact thing as they're doing, and they were doing disappearing stories." And so yeah, that kind of started it all. But
Hmm.
yeah, and then from there, I kind of went to the CPG retail brand world. It was when I was at Snapchat, I moved back to New York, and then met my wife. Um, in New York, but she's from Cincinnati, so that's why I'm here now. And so when I was at New York after Snapchat, I was working for Mars and M&M's, leading their social, shooting a lot of content out of a WeWork space. When I moved to Cincinnati, I was working at Kroger, leading the social management team, working with the agencies. I brought our agency in. We were shooting some really cool content like they've kind of never shot before, but in general, all of the content that um, people were putting online was starting to change, less of like product shots and more of lifestyle. So we started doing that sort of thing. And then from there, I would always been on the brand side. And from there, after Kroger, I went over to Ogilvy, which is one of the biggest agencies in the world. And I was a director of strategy leading the Walgreens account. And then was working on a few other accounts like the Jordan brand, SC Johnson, and then some Web3 stuff. And this was like 2022. 2017, I got actually really deep into Web3. And so by 22, I was like, there were so many opportunities, but so few people who could take them. And so I, jumped in, having that knowledge of Web3, and then also having just general knowledge of being able to grow a company, which Web3 is very developer and tech led. And so for the last for the last 4 years, that's what I've been doing is helping grow Web3 tech and AI companies through social media and original content. So,
So what for before I get to the questions that I had in mind, um, now that you're in Web3, what do you think has yet to come out that you think, based on your experience in social media, will end up becoming commonplace and even popular that people just aren't using enough right now?
like in Web3,
Yeah, in Web3.
like what should people start using in Web3, or what are people going to take from Web3 and use in?
What applications are going to come out of the technology as a result of Web3 that will
Okay,
end up becoming commonplace in the same way that social media became very commercialized?
yeah, that's really hard to say. I think that Bitcoin is always going to kind of rule all in the crypto space, and we've kind of seen that over the last 2 years,
Hmm.
where Bitcoin like it got up to like 130,000, and while everything else kind of just like died. And so um, we know that kind of at the end of the day, that's going to be like the main currency that helps drive, and it's because there's such a limited amount of it. When it comes to the actual technology of it and how people use it, I think what's going to become, I think probably the biggest thing is access and being able to track that access. So whether it's like concert or movie tickets,
Mm.
um, or sporting events, being able to track that and then resell, and also the same thing with like art and authentication of art. But all of those things right now, when you resell, the original creator doesn't get paid. But with Web3, you can always track who is the original creator and always have royalties like baked in for that person. Or when it comes to access, when somebody holds, it's called an NFT, but in the future, it's probably, they're probably going to not call it an NFT and just say, it's some kind of access card, and you'll be able to, access it through your phone. But holding that means that that's going to be, I feel like, the future of loyalty programs. When you hold this, we can now feed you, different discounts and things digitally, through your digital wallet, or through whatever is going to be created in the future that allows you to hold cryptocurrency or allows you to hold NFTs. So brands have tried it, but it just hasn't grown, kind of big enough, for it to be adopted. And there's been too many. Honestly, it's probably have been too many bad players. Every time it kind of gets going, we hear about some really negative things that happen. Whether it's um, a company that crashes and there was bad people behind it, or even
Pump and
potentially
dumps.
or by one of the most powerful people in the world, who steals $1 billion creating a cryptocurrency, and then
Hmm.
dump it on everyone. So things like that happen. It really sets it back. So I think it's whatever happens in the future, it's going to be things that I think people aren't even going to realize that it's happening. It's going to be kind of behind the scenes, like like a iPhone. Everyone loves it, but you don't necessarily know the technology behind it. That's going to be the same thing with Web3 and crypto and blockchain technology.
Mm. With especially with Web3, it's really efficient based on my limited amount of knowledge. I went down the whole crypto Web3 rabbit hole, I think maybe like 2019 through like 2021 or something like that, because that's also, for context, I tried day trading for like a number of years, and then COVID hit, and then it got really popular, especially with Robinhood and whatnot. But during that time, I became familiar with just the technology aspect of blockchain, and that's when I realized the world is not going to be the same in 20 years. It's going to be drastically different. And then AI started happening,
Yeah.
and now it's just
And there's a
honestly,
combination of both. I mean, you
yeah,
can
yeah.
get AI agents that can build blockchains and carry out the commands. So it's pretty
I
exciting.
saw that, and I saw it used and created on the spot. I think with some other podcast or something like that. But yeah, I don't I don't know how exactly how it works, but the it makes me reflect, honestly, with the speed of which the world is developing, that I honestly think we're going to end up people wanting to have a slower style of life as a result of it. And that perfect storm will lead into another, ironically, another era of a different renaissance creatively for artists. Because now,
Yeah, I
especially with
think that's
with tools like ChatGPT, that gives people the ability to be a polymath again, if without and not have to spend their whole lives being able to study a particular craft and art form in order to be able to augment their abilities and optimize for being able to actually stretch their tentacles into a lot of different areas that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
yeah. I mean, I think we're kind of already like seeing that. I mean, that kind of the 2016, which for me that isn't that far back, but like that's a huge kind of meme, because people are like, even 10 years ago things were simpler and it seemed kind of as nostalgia. Right now, I have for me, I want to go back even a little farther than that. For our kids, we got tired of the possibility of them scrolling around on Netflix or YouTube, and so we've got a TV VCR, which apparently right now is like extremely hard to find, and they're pretty expensive, like the CRT TV VCRs, and we have
Yeah, because
about
there's two different types of VCRs, right?
yeah. Oh no, with VCR, no, there's like a VCR alone by itself, but then there's a VCR that is actually a combo VCR, a TV and a VCR, which is like a CRT. It's basically a box, and so
Mm-hmm.
like we got one, it was not working. We got it for free. Took it to a shop and got it fixed for $60. We have it, and we that's what our kids like watch movies on. Like they're watching Richie Rich, like Parent Trap, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and they love it. But like they're not. It's impossible to just like click around and scroll around, and it kind of makes things like kind of slower, and we're it's like you can eat popcorn and watch a regular TV, but it kind of feels kind of cooler to do it kind of how you used to. I mean, right now I have a 2009 or 2010 Canon handheld camcorder, that should be here like on Saturday, but it's like full HD, but no 4K,
Hmm.
like purposely kind of get kind of that look, and also it's just a very simple thing to hold, take around to family events, but also have some plans to kind of do some things creatively with it as well. I have got the mic attachment and a tripod and all that stuff, monopod. So just a few things I'm thinking about kind of doing with maybe projects that I'm currently writing and working on, or things just like I work in a creative space, like creating some kind of like 10 or 15 minute like co-working space, um, like kind of episode or overview of everyone in this office and kind of making it look like the office, something like
Hmm.
that. But which is funny, I'm working on and we can talk about it later, but a micro series called co-working. But part of it is because I work in a co-working space and I have for many years, and yeah, it just made sense to write about.
Talking about the physical media, I always knew that, especially once streaming became very popular and probably the main source of people's entertainment, that physical media was not just going to become a trend, but also come back as the preferred medium because you even with 4K, if you're paying for 4K with Netflix, you're not getting actual 4K.
No.
And my younger brother recently moved in with me, um, and he's about 9, 10 years younger than me, and re- he's it's happening now. It's happening now specifically with the latter end of Gen Z, is bringing back that appreciation for not just visual quality but also sound quality because of the bit rate. Um, you just can't get the amount of information from streaming because it's so compressed. Even if you're paying for 4K, it's a waste of money in my opinion. But now that trend I think has actually arrived, where physical media is becoming the thing that's esteemed now. And I've been watching streaming for so long. I haven't put a DVD in a DVD player in forever. But my brother, he's been doing a bunch of like reconfiguring of our entertainment system. I pay for half of it, but he does all the work. It's a really great deal. Um, I He put a DVD in of a recent movie, and I don't know why it was it was the way it was, but I was shocked about the quality difference. It looked like the 4K movie. I think it was the new How to Train Your Dragon. I could see so many details that I didn't know. I didn't notice that it was missing until he actually put the physical, media in. And then that's when I realized I'm old. I said all that just to say, wow. I mean, I knew it was coming. It's not like I got blindsided by it, but um, that honestly kind of made me happy because maybe the profit margins, and this is what I wanted to go with this, is that a lot of the profit margins for the film industry was really relied on the waves of DVDs being sold in stores, because it only takes like a few cents, I think, to actually create a
Yeah.
DVD, and then it's like maybe $1 for the box and shipping and handling and all that, and then you sell them for 20. Because even if it didn't do great in the theater, you still had the DVD waves to actually make your money back. So hopefully this isn't a temporary trend and it ends up becoming permanent, because that would actually give a lot more power back to indie filmmakers to hopefully make some money on their
I
projects.
think
What do you
I
think?
think that's also part of why it's coming back, is that that's where the industry is now. Like you can no longer, it's really hard to even think about, the production company route, or pitching something and getting it bought. Like it's nothing's getting bought. If you're working or writing in TV, then like I mean, you better have like an A-lister and maybe also be an A-list showrunner yourself. And then when it comes to features, which I've been kind of thinking about and focused on more lately because of that, and and being keeping that low budget as well. Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to, they publish like all of the features that are bought, and I haven't looked in a couple of months, but like in December it was like eight in all of Hollywood and like one TV show. And
Mm.
like, I mean, I'm being realistic, like that's not going to be me, and that's probably what most people are saying right now. And the way that people are found in the last few years is creating it themselves, whether it's a filmmaker or a social media influencer.
Well, I mean, I forget which studio was recently bought out by Netflix. It was one of the
Uh,
big ones.
I don't know which one. Wait, shoot, I don't know about. I know that Warner
It's whoever
Brothers
owned
bought.
HBO. It's whoever
Oh, I
was it
thought.
Warner Brothers?
Oh, okay, Warner Brothers. Then. Okay, yeah, Warner Brothers. Damn, I forgot that was the same deal. Yeah, Warner Brothers bought HBO, and now Netflix bought Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix's argument I saw. I read a few articles about it. Was that they think that they're actually saving the movie industry by making larger acquisitions to be able to build. I don't know what the reasoning is, but people think that Netflix is killing the industry, and then Netflix thinks that they're actually saving it. So, who do you think is right?
Uh, Definitely don't think that Netflix is saving it. I think Netflix is saving it if all of that money they're waving around, if they're using that to put towards more filmmakers, but they're
Mm.
not. It's the same filmmakers or franchises that are being remade. I mean, yeah, there's some originals, but again, those are usually like first look deals. Like, where are the incubators or accelerators that actually, like, when you think about like the history of the industry and the times that it's really grown, it's when it's opened up to new players. And I don't I don't know how much Netflix acquiring things that already exist and waving their money around is really doing doing that. Um, yeah, I mean the you know the last 5 years before Netflix started buying everything or whatever, when we had all these the Warner Brothers and them are still there, and some of them are still are. Like, have they been doing any better? No. So I'm not sure what the answer is. I think the answer is know, independent slash new filmmakers and new stories, because everybody's tired of seeing the same things. But I think we got to a point, or the industry or the people with the money got to a point where in streaming they did put out a lot of money. I just don't think they did it the right way, and they didn't see the returns that they wanted, and so that's why now we're seeing just a flood of franchises and the same people in movies.
Leading to this type of cultural and creative stagnation that we're seeing in the visual mediums. Because I notice in like the last year and a half, I've seen more artisan type films try to make their way in the theaters, like with the let's not and I don't just mean A24 films. There's a lot of, especially for this year with the Oscars, there's a lot of contenders that are those types of films, like Hammett, one time after another. I forget it's the new film with the Leonardo DiCaprio, but
Yeah,
there's those types of films. I recently looked at the box office results for those. They're still not doing great, but they're trying to go for the Oscars to be able to hopefully make more of their money back by being able to promote it in that way, saying it was an Oscar winner, because that the awards that seems to be the new model for being able to get a second wave of DVD type returns. But now everyone's competing for that, and there's not a lot of awards that people actually really pay attention to, other than the Emmys and the Oscars. And
yeah,
it seems like the industry is just kind of choking each other.
yeah. The Rock is just a very interesting case. I mean, I think he's good for the entertainment industry overall, because I mean he's helped put a lot of people in business and make things. I don't necessarily like anything that he's made, but you brought that up, and that just reminded me. I haven't seen it, but they made like a huge deal, before people could see it, while it was still on the festival tour of the
Oh, the
smashing,
Smashing Machine.
yeah, Yeah. Is that the name of it? I think it's the Smashing Machine with The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the name. I feel like it might be something, but it's definitely close. It's Smashing something.
I
I
know
think
what
it
you're
is a
talking
Smash.
about. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So they made like a huge. It was all over social media. Like in Venice, he got like a standing ovation. He was like crying, and like people were like, "Oh, this is the best thing that he's done." Which, like the way that the movie looks, like he doesn't make movies like that. Like it may be the best acting he's done. Again, I haven't seen it, but a week or two later, the movie comes out. I think was to theaters and was. I mean, it was horrendous showing, and now it's back on. Now it's on streaming, and now they're promoting it again. But like it's that same sort of thing you just mentioned. Like they are, yeah. I mean, there's um, streaming is, yeah. It's interesting, and you know people who have been successful, they're not even sure what to kind of do right now either.
Well, during the 80s and 90s, when those types of artists and films could still make their money, and not just because of DVDs, but largely in the culture, people were in the habit of going to movies in order to get their media. And so there's a fair argument, in my opinion, to say that it's not even the solution has nothing to do with filmmaking or the entertainment industry. It's the fact that people are fatigued from being on their phones. And do you know what the average like usage time for social media is for the average person
I don't
today?
know. I mean, it's got to be probably, if you're talking about a week, probably 8 hours. Like
No, it's like four. It's like 3 to 4 hours a day.
a day. Yeah, it's like
That's two
mine's like
movies.
maybe
Seeing
9 hours.
2 movies a day on average, and
But it's funny though,
how
because
in
you
the
said like
world?
media fatigue, but like one of the bigger, and I mean, one of the bigger, up and coming formats right now is micro series because it is all on mobile.
Verticals. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, um, but yeah,
I've heard. I talked to an actress last week who who said that a lot of her friends are getting offers to do those types of vertical shorts. Um, and I've never looked and watched a full version of one of those, but as far as I can tell, I've seen long extended clips. It's basically 2025, 2026 soap opera. It's a modern day soap opera. It's the new
yeah,
latest iteration of soap operas, essentially, except maybe there's a little bit more production value
yeah.
than your
It's
average like Channel 9 soap opera or something from that back in the day.
Yeah, I can't say I've watched I haven't watched like a lot of them, but
It's like deliberately
I
cheesy, you
also,
know.
yeah, I was about to say I also can't say that I like anything that I've seen, and I think that's the reason I'm just like that, not that type of watcher. Like I actually love some reality TV, and like, my favorite show is 90 Day Fiance. But like if I'm, like if I'm, yeah, but if I'm like watching a movie is for me, it needs to kind of have a little more meaning. I want to kind of see or kind of feel the art of it, and I haven't quite seen that with these with what's going on, which is hard because they're only a minute and a half or two
I
apiece.
don't think it needs. That's the thing. The success with those, because they're popping up a lot now, and actually a lot of Chinese companies are making major investments into
Yeah,
that sort of
they
content.
started it. It's bite-sized content, so they were the ones that started it. And then
Because people are already, they on their phones watching a lot of spending a decent amount of time watching reels. It doesn't need to be better than movies. It just needs to be better than what they're already watching. Spending all their time on watching reels. If it's like
yeah,
twice as better, more entertaining that they're willing to watch and spend time on, then you're going to be able to make money with that.
also episodics. It's like real storytelling, which
Hmm.
reels is not necessarily that unless you're that type of creator who's creating a new story. But even then, you're probably doing a new skit every time. With verticals, you do 10 episodes of a medical micro drama. You kind of following the same themes and
Hmm.
characters the whole way.
I want to pivot a little bit now to your own personal craft of screenwriting because, you know, now that we've got the backdrop of um, your professional career when it comes to social media and your other interests that happened along the way of that. Where does your personal sense of creativity and fulfillment, where does that come in during this whole story that you've had up to this point in your professional career? Is it something that you've tried to make it work happen before, or because like a lot of artists, they pursue the thing that they really want to do, and then eventually they realize this is not profitable yet. So they'll alternate between the jobs that actually pay, and then exacerbating their resources to be able to try to make that push to see if they can do it again. They just keep trying over and over again. Is that the way that you've approached it when it comes to creativity and versus your professional career, or is it just something that you've done as a hobby on the side, and if it happens, it happens?
Yeah, I would say, definitely started as a hobby and just a way, you know, always telling stories for brands, through social media. But those are always short form, stories, and I've always been interested in, historical, events, and just personal stories that I've or personal things I've experienced, and wanted to tell things that you can't do at a job because that's not their brand, or just in general if you're working in social and you're not telling longer stories like that. So at first it was just, hey, let me try a longer form of storytelling, and I like TV and film, so you know let's do that. And I would say I definitely always have kept it separate. I think because I've just always been someone who's wanted to have some kind of stability, and um, for social media and marketing, that's it's always been that, and probably in some way always be that, where I know that I can get a check, and I have the resume to to get a job and a role in that. And with now finding more time and writing like I am now, and it's what's great is that I'm at a point in my career is that if I did write something that took off, like I have no issues with leaving the career that I've had, because I feel like I've done really kind of all the things that I've wanted, without being an entrepreneur.
How old are you
And
now?
39.
Okay.
um and then yeah, and then so yeah, I've done everything I've wanted to do there. And I know that kind of this is something that I would want to do for kind of, you kind of can say, like the second half of my life. But that's kind of where I am, is like, again, like, yeah, I know that I can always keep food on the table with what I've done with my career. But writing has always been there, and it's always been kind of like my creative outlet that I haven't, usually you're put in some kind of silo, or you can never com- fully be your creative self, working for somebody, or working
Right.
for a brand.
when when you first get the idea for a script and you realize that you're going to end up pursuing this idea until it's finished, like it's just that kind of idea and you have that gut feeling about it, how do you get yourself into the flow of creative writing to be able to just sit there and actually make a lot of progress in a way that's meaningful for you?
Yeah, so I honestly, I
Tell me
do a
about your flow state, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I do a lot of like writing and thinking in my head in advance before I write like anything down, like actually. So first I have an idea. I'll think about it for all night or for a couple of days, and if I'm still interested in it, then I'll start putting things down on paper. Start kind of building like who could potentially be characters, what could potentially be that story. um, Also, start looking up what are similar before going too far. Are there things out that are too similar? Because I mean, as much as I like storytelling, I what I something I hate uh, more than that love is wasting time.
Yeah.
Um, and like, if, everything that I write, like, I truly write it because I think that there's a possibility that could sell. Like, do I think that it will? Like, I mean, it's an industry where you can't really think like that if you don't want to get depressed. So, but that's like, so yeah. If I write something, I'm just going to assume that I'm going to sell it. And so yeah. If I, so I get this point, yeah. And, I've thought about it for a few days. I'm still interested in it, and then I just start doing really deep research. Who are potential characters that I can model, or I've written quite a few historical dramas. Who's a character that I can focus on or model a character after, and then from there, we'll start creating usually a treatment. So somewhere from like 3 or 5 pages, with synopsis, log line, themes, things like that. And then
Hmm.
I start reaching out to people that are close to get their thoughts and ideas. Like, if I go that far, sometimes I start writing all of that out, and I'm like, this can't be a show. It's not going to go that long. Or this is I'm going to get bored if I keep writing this show, or this movie. So I'm going to stop. But if it's gone farther than that, then and I start taking it to someone else, then that means I'm looking for some validation that that it is an idea that that I should continue with. And yeah, and then from there, I it's interesting. I feel like I maybe I guess it just depends on what project it's maybe been, but um, uh, I would say probably honestly more my process has been in the past is thinking about what the script is going to be, um, like what the pilot or what the feature is.
Like
Um,
anxiously throughout the day? Is it more of a meditative process?
um, Anxiously throughout the day, but like so much so that within a couple of days I can recite from, like, kind of in my head every single scene
Mm.
of a movie, and then I will take that, start writing it all out in notes, and basically have every scene in notes, and then I start looking at the scene and go to
Yeah.
open up a new file, and then I write it all. So I actually usually write a script before I write the treatment, like an actual, like, kind of official, like, organized treatment. Like, of course, I'll write out like some characters, and write out the characters, and generally their tone, like who they are. But like, I mean, it's only me. Nobody needs to see it, and if I have it in my head, that's fine. So usually, I will write, you know, yeah, I'll write it all before I kind of create a treatment, and to be, I don't know how it's sometimes I feel like weird about saying this. I don't know how people feel if, like, I don't like saying it to somebody who's been in the industry for a while or who's written for a while, because it's normally not the case with like anybody. But um, like, before going into like proofreading and editing, um, it's probably never taken me longer than 3 weeks to write a script, and probably normally between 1 and 2 weeks to write a
So
script.
what if that's the time that it takes for you to go from start to finish out of the actual writing? What is the duration of the time that you spend working on it when you on throughout the days thinking about it and making um, story structure notes and character notes on your phone and whatnot? How long does that happen before the actual writing actually starts for you?
Okay, so yeah, that whole process is probably 3 weeks. The character notes and things is probably a week. With me, like, it's if I'm
Wait, so
thinking,
you're busting these scripts out in like a month?
yeah, busting them, busting them.
Jeez.
Uh, yeah, like, and that's why, like, it's like I get wary about telling people that, because some people just assume it's not a good script, and that's just not the case. That's just like, and like, I think that, like, the time that someone spends over maybe 3 months, I could potentially be spending the same amount of
Now, is
time.
that also? Go ahead. I'll finish real quick.
I was gonna say that I may be spending the same amount of time, like, in my head actually thinking. I mean, like, literally, like while I'm at work, like while I'm with the kids. Like, my wife knows when I'm like writing a script, because like I'm not listening to much. I'm forgetting like a lot. Like
So you
I'm
can tell when when you're just checked out.
yes, like I'm standing still, like staring at a wall. Like the kids are saying my name, and I'm like not like paying attention to them, like if because I'm like in deep. But like
I'm the same
that's
way.
why
I'm guilty. I'm
that,
just as guilty.
like that's mostly the reason why I write the script so fast because like otherwise like I couldn't live my life writing thinking about a script for 3 months. If I'm writing it for like I said those 3 weeks, like 18 hours a day. Like I'm, if I'm waking up at 1 o'clock and then from 1 to 4, I'm like in the bed, like in my notes or on Writer Duet, which is what I use. Writing that script. Like I'm
Mm.
like I can't stop thinking about if I have an idea because I'm either like maybe I'm afraid that I'm gonna stop and like go on to something else, or it's just like I'm that passionate about it where like oh like this is next, oh here's another idea, here's another, oh this scene is great, and I just have to keep writing or and I think I might lose it. But that's also why like by that 3 weeks, or that's yeah, about that 3 weeks, I could somebody tell me like, hey, like tell me scene by scene, like I don't even need to look at it, like I know it's scene by scene what that
Mm.
whole movie is in my head.
So when you actually go to start writing it, you're doing this nonstop all day, every day, for that period of 3 to 4 weeks, is what you're saying.
I would say, I mean, I do have a job, so I would say like I'm definitely Writer's Duet on my phone, so I got the mobile app,
Mm.
and I'm yeah, I have a 9 to 5. I would say, you know, a lunch break or really any kind of break, I'm writing, or honestly anytime an idea pops in my head, put something to the side and just write it down, or I put it in notes and then later can come back to it, and then I put something in notes, and like I'll like write out a whole like dialogue or scene with one paragraph with and like literally just like a paragraph.
What about for historical scripts though? Because if you're doing a period piece, I would like there's research that has to go
Yeah,
into that.
so the period piece, I would say maybe that 1 week before I start writing is maybe more like 2 weeks. So
Mm.
it's like, yeah, those it gets hardcore like research. Like, I mean, diving really deep, and like when I say like, I mean, I've always been like a big researcher, like finding things. Like if somebody wants to find something on the internet, like they'll find me. But like I several scripts that I have um, written or projects that I've created has been from doing research of of another project.
I see.
Like for example, the I had a one of my scripts is a Sundance finalist in I think 2022 or 2023. It's called Bert. I have the life rights to it. It's about um, a, a, a gay Jewish psychologist who went to Harvard when he was like 15. Then moved to New York. He helped screen people to get into World War II. Was like a huge activist, all this stuff or whatever. But through that research, like during his Harvard years, I found out about this person named Lincoln Kirsten. Literally the most interesting person that I've ever like really ever read about in history. And so he's this, it's like really just big presence, like a 6'5", like loud, bipolar Jewish guy who went to
He's got
Harvard.
a lot going on.
Yeah, like had a lot going on. Family was rich, but he wasn't in the inner circle because he was Jewish. Went to Harvard. He was in this class. Uh, uh, it called the museum class, and it was taught
Mm.
by Paul Sachs from the Sachs family. The head of the art department was Edward Forbes, who was from the Forbes family. And so like there's this, and
Wait,
this is
Sachs as in Goldman
yeah,
Sachs?
and he would and Paul Sachs left the firm in the
Mm.
early 1900s too because he loved art, and he became a curator. And so he taught the museum class, which became
Mm.
basically the class that led to American curators. He was on the board along with Rockefellers and some of the other big names in U.S. history of the original board of MoMA. And Alfred Barr took his museum class, and he was Alfred Barr's mentor, and he was the reason that Alfred Barr was named the first curator at MoMA. So, but Lincoln Kirsten was a guy who, bipolar, also bisexual. He was just this big personality. He eventually made his way through and became like this big person, like outside, even outside of the Jewish community.
Mm-hmm.
But within the show that I wrote, like Paul Sachs didn't really like him because he was kind of this extravagant guy. But Paul Sachs was also Jewish and actually within the inner circle of the rich community. And they were both leveraging each other. And so Lincoln Kirsten, actually, when he moved to New York, he started the New York Ballet in New York City Ballet. He brought Balanchine from Europe to America, and then he was, one of the
Was he
biggest things.
really into art, or was he just entering a medium to be able to help do money laundering? Because you know about like paintings being charged overcharged for an astronomical amount, and then you know.
No, he was really into the art because like he had all these ideas and he wanted, like he thought, I mean, he was really talented and people saw it, but he
Mm,
was also a very forceful person. He, the Fox and Hound, I think it's the name of the like the Harvard newspaper that, like, if you were a writer and you were going to be something at
mm,
Harvard as a writer, that's what you wrote for. He was turned down with a guy named Varian Fry, and it was both because they were Jewish. And
okay.
so he said, "Fuck this!" Started his own paper, and he knew some pretty through his dad and through his sister, who was a writer, knew some pretty affluent people, and he got bigger writers than the Fox and Hound did, and he couldn't be overlooked. And so he really is one of the, like, I mean, no one knows about him, but then I created this TV show called the Museum Course, and it's about
Mm,
him, and he's the main character, and following him through this course and this bipolar, manic, character who went through Harvard and helped to bring, to build museums and modern art and bring it to
mm.
America. So
So when you're, because I'm curious, is there anything that you think that another writer could take away from your own process? Obviously, everyone's minds works differently, and they have different temperaments, and everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. Is there anything from your own process and the way that your mind works that another writer who maybe isn't as quick as you, in terms of the way that they approach things or how they think about things, that they can benefit from in order to be able to get their scripts done a bit more efficiently?
yeah, I mean, think about it and write down everything that you think about, whether it's a scene, whether it's a character. Um, and yeah, again, I don't know what your workload may be, but no, it's truly about like thinking about it so much where if you can't stop thinking about it, then it's probably a good idea to continue with. Obviously, barring that no one else has done it, and you care about that, part of
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, it's, I think that is really important, that you loving it and you wanting to continue, working on it. I think that that's the biggest piece. Like if you don't love what you're writing, then you're gonna get stuck a lot. Because that's another thing. Like if you don't truly love what you're writing about, you may end up getting halfway through and then giving up on that idea because you realize, like, I really don't want to. I think like really deciding what you want to write. So really thinking about it, knowing it yourself because you're obsessed with it, sending it to others who like see that potential as well, before moving forward. I think a writer's block is probably the biggest thing, whether it's coming up with the idea or being in the middle of writing and then being stuck and not knowing, either what the next scene is or how to get to that scene because like there's something maybe technological or a process that you don't know about. I think that that's when you think about, where AI is now. I think that that's like really important or a really big thing to use it for. I wouldn't say
Mm-hmm.
important because it hasn't, it's only been around recently, but it's definitely, if when we talk about being able to write things, quicker, if you're stuck, like being able to say, hey, like, like put your script in where it is now, and like this is what I want to go next, but I don't know how to get there. Like if that's something you're trying to do, and that's a great way to and like get out of that writer's block and to continue.
Other
Um,
than you, I have not met another writer um, who uses AI to be able to help to be able to assist them, because the process of writing, it's very meditative. It can be very personal, and there's a lot of, understandably, artists want to protect their own authenticity, and they certainly don't want to involve AI into their workflow, and when they go to tell people about how they wrote the script, they don't want their own credibility to be questioned, especially when they're very passionate about it. And so I've experimented with a number of different methods, and the biggest way that I think been able to walk the line and that rope to be able to get the best of both worlds and still keep my own authenticity and credibility for using AI ethically for my own craft is that I will basically put whatever amount of ideas I've written down or a script into ChatGPT, and then I'll talk to it and have a conversation with it. I will set up. You have to set up your own parameters of what, in the beginning, to explain what your goals are with the script, what you do and don't want to have done, and it will do it with flying colors. And like, I want to protect my own authenticity, and my goal is just to be able to have a conversation with you as a peer, not to be able for you to tell me the answers about what this script needs or to be able to do it for me, but to be able to stir my own creativity, to be able to get it out of writer's block. And if you approach it like that, you'll be very surprised with how well you're able to go.
Yeah, I'm very careful about like how I use it or what actually goes on the page. I pretty much for the most part have a rule that what comes out in AI, like it doesn't go on paper because I'm normally not asking about dialogue. So like dialogue usually never touches AI.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a scene description, it's just because like I know I'm like maybe not like the best with my words, and so like I'll write it how I'm thinking about it, and then say, hey, can you just clean this up? And so that's more of just to make the read a smoother read, which is always better for the reader. And so I'd say that's when it comes to like actually taking what comes out of AI and putting it on a paper. Yeah, I mean, I it's yeah that's it's more for the ideas, and then also I think it's great with it's really hard to get people to find people to read your script or be able to. I would say the average time that it takes somebody to read your script is probably like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but like being able to take a script and to put it in there and for it to give you instantly back you know feedback is just amazing because like I've taken that feedback before before like truly trusting it and um, and comparing it with notes and feedback from friends in the industry or real readers, and it's almost always like the same, which is kind of scary. Or like they
Mm-hmm.
almost always like talk about the same points of like, oh, you should have got to this sooner, or this part of it goes a little strong, or sorry, goes a little long, or this
Coverage
character.
companies I don't think are going to exist
No, yeah,
in the next
like
few years. It's just over. It's done.
and so like I mean that's just one part that like I'm not gonna like find some person to read it, pay them $50, and they may be possibly putting in the AI too. Like it's like I'm
Honestly,
just
that might be a good side hustle.
yeah. So I
Mm,
mean these days just it shouldn't be a side hustle. Everyone should just do it themselves. But
yeah.
uh, so yeah, I mean, but on the AI topic, yeah. Other than that, when it comes to film development, like I would say, like the what I usually use it most for is creating pitch decks. So like visuals, like being able to easily create visuals without trying to Google around and find. So being able to get exactly what I want, like with maybe with some different summaries or kind of the best way to put on a page, like
A
what the
synopsis. Usually
yeah,
getting a synopsis out
what
of
a
it.
tone or genre, the best way to put that. Um, or and I've been playing around a little bit lately with yeah, like literally creating creating reels or not reels, but creating like trailers, trying to start
Mm-hmm.
actually making my writing come to life because like yeah, I said that one of my goals this year is to actually something like make something that I write. I mean, I think right now the first step and really kind of or just a really cool thing to see is I mean seeing that come to life, even if it's just through AI, but also that helps you through writing, like, doing my scripts, like putting them in scene by scene, building them out. I have like edited a lot of scripts, realizing like, oh shit, like this would make no sense going to the next scene, or like this is not a good transition because I'm trying to do it now. How would they be able to try to do it if they're making the movie?
Mm-hmm. I think people need to at least try using a potentially better method before they judge it a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, John, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Is there any final thoughts you want to leave with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I guess in most people or a lot of people are going to be interested in screenwriting. I would say there's probably a lot of people right now, like, thinking about quitting or trying to figure out like what's next. I think what's next is it may not be the support that we have in the past, but I think what's going to come with that is more freedom. So they keep writing, connect locally, which is going to be big for me this year, and just find people that you can want to collaborate with, that'll help you tell your stories. But don't think it's a time to quit, because I think there are going to be a lot of people that quit, and then there's going to be this kind of rush that maybe, I don't know if it's 2 years, 5 years, that they're going to be looking for people and then realize that they've forced a lot of people out.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks again for coming on. It was great to be able to actually finally be able to do this.